Chapter 24. So this meditation diagram was called the erosion diagram. Saul still felt that the name he came up with was more vivid and fitting. The human monster movement diagram. Mentor, I asked around. No one else's meditation book has this diagram, only mine. Has someone tampered with my book? Someone wants me dead. Saul's expression flickered between anger and fear. So? Kaz remained calm, even indifferent. Please, Mentor, save me. Kaz's thick white eyebrows furrowed. He lowered his head and looked at Saul. Hear that the world of wizards isn't about kindness and beauty, to grow stronger, to uncover deeper mysteries. People will do whatever it takes. What you need to do is adapt to this world, not just seek protection. Mentor Kaz, I understand the survival of the fittest, but I've only been an apprentice for 2 days, and already someone has ordered maids and even other apprentices to go after me. Could there be more to this than me? See, right now. Saul shrank his shoulders, clutching his stomach pitifully. I don't even dare eat the food the maids bring me. Survival of fittest? Kaz raised an eyebrow. You haven't learned much yet, but your vocabulary is impressive. After pondering for a moment, he finally relented. No matter who is trying to harm you, instructing the Wizard Tower servants and apprentices to act against you is crossing the line. I'll take care of it, and no one will dare tamper with an apprentice's supplies again. He placed a hand on Saul's head. Being able to avoid the erosion diagram strap was your own skill, and that's what really matters. Now, go back, eat well, study hard, and grow stronger. Then you'll see that the dangers on the wizard's path are far scarier than someone scheming against you. Saul's plea for help had used up his allotted time for questions. With that, Kaz clasped his hands behind his back and walked out of the morgue. Saul let out a small breath of relief but still felt disappointed. Kaz had ensured that Saul wouldn't have to worry about his daily necessities being tampered with, but he hadn't promised to track down the culprit, which meant that Saul still had to be wary of Sid causing trouble elsewhere or even coming after him directly. Fortunately, the Wizard Tower likely had some restrictions on second-rank apprentices. Otherwise, Sid wouldn't have resorted to such underhanded methods to deal with him. A second-rank apprentice killing a new apprentice would be effortless. He had to find a way to grow stronger as quickly as possible. At the same time, he needed to figure out how to avoid Sid's traps until he had the strength to fight back. Saul resumed copying books. His expression was blank and his pen moved swiftly. Even when transcribing the complex no script, his speed barely slowed. At 7 o'clock, he left the morgue. As he stepped out, he noticed the crimson door next to his also opening. A man in his early 20s emerged. The emblem on his clothes marked him as a first-rank apprentice. Judging by his age, he was clearly a seasoned first-rank apprentice. The man glanced at Saul, but his gaze passed over him as if he were nothing more than air. Saul silently stepped aside, allowing the man to ascend the slope first. Today, there was no work. Everyone could leave on time. Saul lingered by the door for a moment, watching to see if the deep red door at the end of the hall would open. That should be where the first stage of corpse processing took place. But after waiting for about 10 minutes, the door still remained. Not wanting to loiter too long, Saul clutched his book and hurried away. Kaz was in a foul mood today. None of his newly acquired apprentices satisfied him. Duke had a high perception for dark elements and decent magical talent, but his mind was sluggish and lacked intuition. If he struggled so much with just a few simple runes, how could he ever hope to grasp real wizardry? Angela had decent talent and was sharper than Duke, but she was too restless. Her big eyes were cute, sure, but they were always darting around. Even something as basic as studying, which only required effort, she managed to turn into scheming. And she thought she was good at faking innocence. Kaz wasn't the scheming type himself, so he disliked apprentices who were. In his experience, those who relied on scheming to become high-level wizard apprentices always failed on the path to becoming a true wizard. And besides, Angela reminded Kaz of another girl. That one was probably reaping the consequences of her own actions right about now. As for Saul, Kaz hadn't paid him any attention at first. In his view, someone with no magical aptitude becoming an apprentice was just a waste of the tower's resources. Saul must have pulled some strings to get in. Kaz had originally planned to eliminate him during the first test, but unexpectedly he discovered Saul's talent in Soul-related matters. No, saying it was an unexpected discovery wouldn't be entirely accurate. He had been instructed to look for it. Kaz slowly walked along the sloped corridor between the 16th and 17th floors of the East Tower. These floors housed the mentors. Suddenly, the shadows around him shifted. The candlelight remained steady, yet the shadows on the ground writhed like fleeing creatures, breaking into countless tiny black specks that leapt and scattered, diving into the cracks of the stone floor. Kaz stopped in his tracks, his facial muscles twitching, his breathing slowing. Who said that true wizards wouldn't feel fear? He looked up and saw a figure descending the slope. His arms hung stiffly at his sides, not swinging as he walked. His heels lifted high, barely allowing his toes to touch the ground, as if the floor was too filthy to step on. Most importantly, the figure was wrapped in pink bandages from head to toe, leaving only a pair of silver eyes exposed. Kaz bowed deeply. "Tall Master." With that simple response, the pink bandaged figure brushed past Kaz. Kaz exhaled half a breath in relief. but before he could release the other half, the Tower Master stopped after taking 2 steps. Kaz immediately turned around, not daring to show his back. That little one, he's quite suited for corpse processing, isn't he? The Tower Master's voice was gentle, a stark contrast to the fear he instilled even in a true wizard like Kaz. Yes, his talent in soul matters is indeed impressive. On his first day processing corpses, he identified an extra material that even I overlooked. That just means you weren't paying attention. The Tower Master chuckled. Kaz shivered. Give him this, that'll help him master his craft more quickly. The bandages on the Tower Master's abdomen split open, revealing a dark crevice. He reached a long, slender hand inside and withdrew a thin, silk-bound book. Understood. Kaz took it with both hands. Oh, and Tower Master. Kaz suddenly remembered the boy asking for help. Someone tampered with that kid's meditation book, swapping a page for the erosion diagram. The Tower Master turned slightly as if intrigued. He meditated with the erosion diagram? Probably not. A new apprentice wouldn't have survived that. He must have realized something was off and only told me today. A cold wind howled through the corridor. The Tower Master's body, balanced only on the tips of his toes, swayed like a reed in the wind. That won't do. Wizard apprentices belong to me. Meditation books belong to me. The maids belong to me. The Tower Master's silver eyes curved into a smile. Oh, right, so do the laboratories. Laboratories. Kaz felt sweat bead at his hairline but didn't dare let it drip onto his face. Find the culprit, the Tower Master said. Make them pay. With that, he turned and continued down the corridor. When his figure vanished round the bend, the countless black specks of shadow eagerly leapt back out from the stone cracks, merging into place once more. Kaz glanced at the book in his hands, puzzled. Why was the Tower Master so interested in Saul? End of chapter. Chapter 25. A new day, 1-0 in the afternoon. Senior first rank apprentice Hayden silently walked into the second morgue. He glanced at the transport platform. The candlelight above it was dim. No work today. That was a good thing. He had been handling corpses for 3 years. This job was nauseating on its own, and at the same time so tedious it made him want to quit. But quitting wasn't an option. Without this job, he had no idea how he could pass the monthly tests. The number of first-rank apprentices who entered the tower with him was dwindling. A few successfully advanced to the second rank. A few died during the tests. A few died during their studies. And a few, like him, persisted quietly. So, even though he was sick of this job, Hayden couldn't afford to give it up. Since there was no work today, he walked over to the desk by the wall and flipped through a book. But soon he closed it again. He had read these books too many times. They couldn't help him advance to the second rank. Come to think of it, not advancing to the second rank isn't so bad. Hayden looked toward the neighboring room. The first step of corpse processing is already being done by second-rank apprentices. If I lost this job, I'd probably be like the other second-rank apprentices, worrying about passing the test every 6 months, right? With that thought, Hayden lost all interest in reading. He walked up to the transport platform and suddenly had the urge to lie on it. But just as he lifted one leg onto the platform, knock, knock. A sudden knock on the door startled him, and he nearly lost his balance. This place, at this time, who could it be? Could it be that newbie from yesterday? Hayden raised his chin and swerved to the door. Who is it? I'm a second-rank apprentice, Sid. Hayden's chin and shoulders immediately shrank together. He quickly opened the door and peered through the crack at the impatient-looking blonde youth. The crimson door opened a sliver, and Hayden squeezed out at once. Senior, you were looking for me? Along with him came the morgue's putrid stench. Sid frowned and took 2 steps back. Seeing this, Hayden hurriedly reached back and shut the door. I heard a newbie took over the morgue job. Yes, a loud little kid. How's he doing? Well, I haven't checked, but I guess he's doing fine. Sid sneered. A total newbie, how good could he be? Besides, my junior also wants this job. Huh? Hayden looked up in surprise. Can you find a way to make room for him? Make room? Hayden shrank his hands and dotted his eyes around uncomfortably. But the morgue jobs are all assigned by Mentor Kaz. Once the position is open, my junior will naturally compete for it. Sid rubbed his fingertips together, and a fine white powder flaked off. Till then, I'll try persuading the newbie. Hayden asked tentatively. Sid chuckled with an ambiguous expression. If you satisfy me, I'll give you a midnight phantom feather. Oh! Hayden straightened up completely, his eyes nearly popping out. They'll definitely make that kid. Suddenly. Doing business in the morgue now. A deep voice interrupted their conversation. Both Hayden and Sid turned toward the depths of the corridor. That second-rank apprentice in charge of the morgue? Sid squinted. He's early today, looks like I'll have to bleed a little again. However, as the figure emerged from the darkness, Sid's pupils contracted sharply. Next to him, Hayden nearly collapsed to the ground. Mentor. The man stepping out of the corridor wasn't the second-rank apprentice. It was Mentor Kaz himself. Sid's heart clenched as Kaz stared at him, but remembering the mentor's usual attitude, he braced himself and said, "Mentor Kaz, we were just to—" Kaz raised a hand, cutting Sid off. "I don't care what you were doing." Sid exhaled in relief. He knew the mentor wouldn't concern himself with apprentice affairs. But Kaz's next words nearly made him collapse. "Recently, the tower has lost quite a few servants and apprentices. You're going out to bring back a dozen new recruits." Sid's heart trembled as he tried to negotiate. "Understood, Mentor Kaz. After I finish next month's tests, I'll—" "Next month? You leave this month, no tonight." Kaz glared at him. Though he was short, the sheer pressure in his gaze made the two apprentices feel like they were being crushed by a boulder. "Mentor Kaz," Sid was drenched in cold sweat, "I have a test next month. If I leave the town now, I might not make it back in time." Kaz looked at him impassively and said, "You need to understand one thing. All servants, maids, and apprentices in the tower are the property of the Tower Master, and you—" Kaz pointed a wrinkled finger at Sid. "You've already caused losses to the Tower Master, so naturally you must make up for it." Sid opened his mouth, but no words came out. A bead of sweat trickled down his temple, hit the ground, and shattered into tiny droplets. Sol learned the next afternoon that Sid had already left the tower. The one who told him, once again, was Mentor Kaz. "Senior Sid?" Sol's face paled. His hand rested on the freshly copied book, fingers clenching, wrinkling the yellowed pages. "But why would he want to harm me?" Sol shook his head in confusion. "That's something you'll have to figure out yourself." Kaz took out a book and tossed it onto the table. Sol looked down. It was a thin, silk-bound book. The Guide to Corpse Refinement. It was the first time he had seen a book made of fabric. "I see you have some talent. Take this book and read it. If you don't understand something, you can ask me." Kaz glanced at Sol's reaction, then turned and left. Sol picked up the book. A non-textbook wizarding book cost at least 2 magic crystals per day, and a guide like this was worth much more than a recognition text. Mentor Kaz had essentially given him a huge sum of magic crystals. The Mentor was quite generous, Sol murmured with a soft chuckle. He set the Guide to Corpse Refinement aside, smoothed out the pages he had wrinkled, and refocused. "This," Fitzal made Sol look up. The candlelight above the transport platform had turned a bright white. Sol walked over and pulled the lever. The black conveyor belt rumbled to life, and a fresh corpse draped in black leather emerged from the fringe. This time it was an unfamiliar dead man who had passed away peacefully. Sol lifted the black leather covering. The corpse was largely intact. This was his first time handling one alone. Sol entered a semi-immersed meditation state. Even though the human monster movement diagram had been slipped into his studies to kill him, he unexpectedly found it suited his meditation well. And since the hardback book hadn't objected, that meant he could keep using it. Sol picked up a tool from the table behind him. The corpse swayed slightly. For a moment, the body on the transport platform seemed to take on Sid's appearance. Sol closed his eyes briefly, forcing himself back to reality. "I have a month, but when Sid returns, his retaliation will likely be even more ruthless. The crisis wasn't over, but at least he had a breathing space. It seems as long as I remain useful, I can gain some protection. I need to become even more valuable." As he worked, his gaze flicked toward the Guide to Corpse Refinement. Suddenly he paused. Corpse refinement, could it have some connection to wizard body modification?